aspects of the last couple big updates is the fact that the insurance cost on the special ships has significantly been reduced, and now you can actually fly the ships without worrying about being a big juicy lost mail. Now, today I'll be flying the Tristan Navy, which is, I would say, one of my favorite Navy frigates, although the Rifter Navy is also really good. And today I actually wanted to try out the new modules, but unfortunately the test server doesn't seem to work, or should I say, I encountered a little bug and it kind of prevents me from actually doing anything, so I have to wait for the developers to finish. Well, not finish, but I have to wait for the developers to fix the bugs, and I will definitely notify them of that little problem. But yeah, I wanted to try out the new modules, but when I clicked on the CNC carrier understanding, I'll show you what I'm actually talking about here. Let me log in into the test server, and then you'll understand what I was referring to here. But overall, I will be checking out the Navy frigates again. They're much cheaper now on the market, and the IP cost is also ridiculously cheap now. They're on par with other faction frigates, I think, which is much better than the crazy 18 billion IP I was before. And yeah, there we go. Black screen upon logging in. I'm in the CNC carrier, but apparently if you jump in the CNC carrier, the game bugs out and you can't do anything. So yeah, kind of messed up my plans, but not a big deal. Let's just jump back into the main server and let's continue with the Tristan Navy. Now, as I mentioned before, Tristan Navy is probably one of my favorites, and when it comes to DPS, the Tristan Navy is definitely really good. I think its DPS is on par, its drone DPS should be on par with the Astra, but it will have more DPS in general since it also has a bonus on blasters. So the Tristan Navy definitely is a very interesting little boat, and also it has nanocores that you can install on this ship. Now, the overall stats of this ship have remained the same. It is a Navy frigate, does have a bonus on damage controls and on the damage control reactivation. It also has a warp drive radius penalty bonus, which is nice. It's meant to be used as a kite, but at the same time you can also use this thing as a close range brawler ship. 3 drones, 3 high slots, 3 medium slots, 4 low slots, 3 combat and 3 engineering rigs. Preferably a armor tank, but at the end of the day you can do a shield or armor tank on this thing. It works the same both ways. Now, I mentioned the insurance cost. Well, now it's less than $1 billion, which is thank you developers for actually making these things usable IP wise, since I know no one wants to be a huge kill mail or loss mail. Well, actually everyone wants a good kill mail, but no one wants a big loss mail, so one of the reasons why these things haven't been used at all. And let me just show you a couple examples of what I'm saying here about being a huge kill mail. I did have a chance to shoot down a bunch of these Navy frigates, and I think the last one was actually very there we go, 18.5 billion. That's how much this thing was at that time, before it was changed. There's a little fun fact. The price on these ships used to be much lower before the crazy build cost. And let me try to find another kill mail here. It is very interesting because it used to be, I think, 1.7, 1.5 billion, something around that number, but then all of a sudden it's skyrocketed once the materials have been introduced, and then the IP cost of the ships has been significantly increased. Now, thankfully, it's changed. It's much less now, so it's honestly not a big. I have to find it through a different method since will take way too long if I went to look through the kills there. I'll just go put Tristan Navy, and then we'll take a couple moments for me to find where that thing is. There's the 18.5 billion one, there's a Tristan, classic Tristan, there is the Navy. So, at one point, yeah, it was 1.2 billion, okay. This is basically upon release, when they have been released the first time. They have been much cheaper. And I don't know what happened, I mean, the manufacturing cost and all that happened, I guess, but yeah, they haven't been that expensive always. They used to be much cheaper, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But anyway, how would I build this ship after all this time? That's a good question. I mean, you have two options, really, three options. You can go with a kite build with the smaller rifled railguns, which is a good option since you do have a bonus on micro overdrive. You also do get some good range on the railguns, so it works. In the medium slots, if you're going long range, a point, dual points, or you can also use dampeners, you can use webs, you can use tracking disruptors, guiding disruptors, painters. You have a lot of options for the other two or one medium slot that's available. Now for the drones, I did have some offense light drones, but I think I sold them because they have been quite expensive, and I just use medium and large offense drones. The small ones, I don't usually fly drone boat frigates. If I do, it's usually the Astro, since usually when I do shoot something with the Astro, it's when they log off and then I go tackle them. But there is one. I just realized I have a bunch of drones over here as well. Yeah, I have some assault and faction drones that I can use. I'll just put some of the prototype drones. I love how they completely changed the drone system, and now you don't have to worry about tech level. In order to use drones, now alpha clones can use prototype drones or Mark 7 drones, which is, I would say, one of the best changes that the game has seen in a very long time. Now for the low slots, and this is where things get a bit awkward for this ship, because the Navy frigates have kind of a power issue. You really need to have powered rigs if you want to use the classic PvP build with extenders and a damage control. However, with this ship, you can technically speed tank, since this thing is actually pretty fast. I did forget how quick the Tristan A was. Later I actually remembered how fast this thing is. You can easily get like 5-6 km per second with this thing with a micro overdrive. And against a cruiser or something larger than that, with the exception of drone boats, you should be able to handle it just by pure speed. Against frigates, I think bombard will be more than enough to just wreck any frigate there is, so not really a big issue against frigates. Again, bombard implant is still the number one implant on the overpowered scale. Even I leveled up the bombard, just because why not? And so far I've been having a blast with it, because everything just dies in a couple of moments. That's just what bombard tactic implant does nowadays. I still hope that it's nerfed, but we will see. Now, how would the glass build look? Well, this is what you would expect from a glass build. Damage total, extended micro overdrive, and a drone damage amplifier. But in this case, I don't have any high slots because I don't have any power grid. Again, I know it's funny, but you would have to spend some rigs for the power grid routers, or I think I should have maxed out frigate skills, because I know recently I completely reworked my skill. My whole skill tree has been reworked, and I put everything I've had from dreadnoughts and capital stuff into sub-capitals, and that includes frigates, destroyers, battleships, and I think cruisers. I think I maxed out everything now, and I'm mostly 5-5-5 on all the things. Maybe some little 4 experts still lingering and lurking around, but you know, should mostly be everything on level 5. And well, You can do a brawler build, basically just replace the afterburner with the micro warp with an afterburner, and then that would free up some of the powers, I guess, which would allow me to fit some more different weapons. I think I also had the same problem last time, and I think these ships also have received a power buff, but still is the same way it is. Maybe it's my skills. I would say it's more of my rigs. More of my rigs are in the wrong here, but nonetheless, an afterburner brawler build on this thing would be interesting. Would change the medium slots for scramblers, webs, and stuff like that. The high slots would be blasters, and do not fit the magnetic field stabilizers on this ship. This is a drone load. Your turrets, your blasters are secondary weapon. Drones are your primary weapon. And I mean, I don't think anyone would like pick a. I don't think anyone would like pick blasters to be a primary weapon on a Tristan navy, especially since bombard is a thing. However, you can use the thermal circulation implant on this thing for armor tank, which is very good. And this thing can be quite tanky. The navy frigates are impressively tanky. My friend has a Punisher navy that I think has like 150,000 hit points or close to 200,000 hit points with the, what was it called again, the plate, the new plate. I always forget the name of the new plates. I'll visit the plates later on in the market. But yeah, you can do stuff like that. And you can also do a kite build with the medium missile launchers. I'll just sacrifice one rig and I'll just add 3. Yeah, there we go. You can also do this, and this kind of works like a brawl and kite at the same time, because the medium missiles have about 20 plus kilometer range, which for a frigate does classify as kiting, since frigates usually don't have a lot of range, and with this thing you can do brawl or you can kite. It's funny, but it works. And the medium missiles are really, the rapid missiles are really decent. I actually do like to use rapid missiles, medium rapid missiles on frigates in a lot of instances, because it just seems to be interesting, especially if you are an active tank, for example. You can save on capacitor since missiles don't use any capacitor. 431.77 DPS, however, you do get a bit more DPS with the blasters, since you do have a bonus on them, but the difference is minimal, and almost 4 km per second with this very, very cheap micro warp drive. Now in your case, if you're going after the Tristan navy, you will probably have much faster micro warp drive, and you will probably have a nanocore for it as well. This is basically like bare bones what you can expect from the ship, since I don't usually go with nanocores. Most of my ships have no nanocore, but that's slowly being changed, since I plan to get one for the Dominic's navy, and I think for some other ships, since I already have like 15 billion in nanocore material, might as well use them, right? Here we can take a look at the dimensional stats. 19 seconds, which is decent for a frigate. Will offer some decent protection. Works really well with bombard, and you do get some very nice bombard DPS. I think with bombard, with a dedicated build for DPS on the Tristan, you can get, I think, like 3.4 to 3.5 thousand DPS with the bombs if you have nanocore, and if you have like offense drones and stuff like that. You should get like 3.5 thousand or around that number, 3.5 thousand DPS with small drones. Honestly, for a frigate, that's kind of scary. And funny enough, you can actually get very similar numbers to the navy on the classic Tristan. However, this thing is just much more powerful, since after all, it is a navy. It's a higher tech ship, and overall it's designed to be a bit more powerful. But even the small Tristan, the classic Tristan, can be quite a formidable opponent. I actually might fly one for the lulz and giggles. I think it will be pretty fun. But yeah, both Tristans are actually surprisingly good little ships now, if you have the bombard tactic implant. It sucks that you have to spend so much for the implant to, to be able to just have fun with everything, but unfortunately that's just how it is at the moment. I have no idea if the implant prices will be reduced at one point. I don't think they will, but I can be proven wrong, so we will see what will happen with that. Now Now, what am I going to be doing next? Now, we can technically replicate the same build with an armor tank with armor plates. Armor plates, preferably if you are going with a passive tank, I also recommend that you somehow find those new plates and those shield generators, because they should be using less power grid, but they should give a massive passive increase in the shield or armor volume. So you should technically be much... The ship should technically be much more successful with these new modules, since the navies are kind of meant to be used with the new stuff. And I find that pretty interesting. Well then, there we go. This would be a brawl build with an afterburner. Of course, I'm struggling to fit one blaster. This is still a very cheap build, very affordable. Literally costs nothing. The most expensive thing about this fit is the ship itself. But like, again, this is the bare bone, like most basic Tristan Navy meta build that there is. So it's kind of designed to be cheap and reliable. Of course, if you really like to fly this ship, you will probably have very nice modules on it, and that's okay. Having a favorite ship and building your favorite ship with the most expensive modules, items, nanocores and stuff is okay. Now, what's the next thing that I can do? You can do a dual propulsion build as well, and that also works. Basically, use micro rotrev to approach, and then afterburner to orbit. Works with the rapid missiles and with any other blaster type weapon that you have installed. Has to be a small blaster weapon, not medium or large. Has to be small, since it doesn't have a bonus on the medium blasters. For an active tank, armor, dual small armor repairs, or if you have the power grid, a medium armor repair. However, the medium armor repair, I would say, works really good with the Incursus Navy. That thing is very wild with the armor repair. I really like the Incursus Navy. It is surprisingly very interesting boat. And of course, a passive DPS. Passive armor DPS build would look something like this. Of course, in the medium slots, instead of the webs, you can use anything that you like. You can even use medium missiles in this case. 439.02 is the cold DPS. Can definitely be increased by 1000 cold DPS just with a nanocore alone, and with a better drone layout. Again, I have some pretty basic drones. Instead of only the hammerhead is like the Hobgoblin, my apologies. The Hobgoblin is like the most expensive drone on the ship at the moment. Medium armor, small armor repair build is what I can fit, but I recommend a medium armor repair and some adaptives. You will still be capable to stay with only one Nosferatu. After this is a Navy frigate, they can tank. However, I still recommend a passive tank over an active tank on these ships, since bombard, primarily because of the bombard, doesn't mean that it is unable to tank anything else. You can tank stuff with the Tristan Navy, but bombard is a problem, and I think the Astra might be one of the more popular frigates out there. At least I see a lot of Astras floating around. But the Tristan Navy can technically be a cheaper alternative, and this is how it can look like with a passive plate build. Now again, as I mentioned before, the titanium plates are much better for these ships than the classic plates, mostly because you can actually fit them without much effort on the power grid, and they give a lot extra hit points, and also I think they also give some resistance, which is very interesting. So you can definitely use the titanium plates. They should be available on the market now. They have been in the wild for a couple months now, so it should be much more, I guess, affordable now. The blueprints is found in the new regions around, I think, Cobalt Edge or Ethereum Reach, somewhere around there, somewhere around the new regions where you run the Centrum anomalies. They can drop, and you can build them, or you can buy them from the market, or you can order them from a friend and buy them from a friend who is doing manufacturing. That's what I would recommend for the Tristan Navy. Now, when it comes to PvE, I don't say that the Navy frigates are not good for PvE. However, their potential is kind of wasted if you run classic high-sec encounters for them. If you run classic encounters with the Navy frigates, their potential is kind of wasted, since these little things are actually really good when it comes to storyline missions. Now, for storylines, it's not really about the ship size, since big ships get yeeted by pirates very quickly, and it's, I would say, one thing that a lot of players, make a mistake in. They go with the larger ship they have, they warp at 0 or they warp at 100 and stay there, and they get scanned and destroyed. Well, with the smaller ships, like cruisers, frigates, you do get a scan notification most of the time. You can also easily make a anti-scan frigate build, which is going to require a dedicated scan alt, and only a scan alt for the pirate, in order to find them in a mission. So if you build a anti-scan frigate, it's not going to be scanned down that easily, and you will get a notification you can warp off on time. So the replication for storylines is actually really solid, both for frigates and cruisers. Even battle cruisers can do it. So these ships, besides PvP, they are really good for PvE. You can also go into Kalevala Expanse with them. The navies are really good for Kalevala Expanse, since they do have some solid tank, and they also do have some solid DPS as well as speed. So they are ideal for that job. Now let's take this thing for a little ride, and let's see how it will work. Personally, I would say that what I'm doing right now is wasting the ship's potential, since the navies are definitely much better for story. But I don't really run storylines myself, because I usually just do PvP. But my apologies for the weird cut. I was distracted, had to look away from the screen for a second. So, as I already mentioned, the full potential of the Navy frigates in general, not only the Tristan Navy but any Navy frigate, is kind of wasted on the high-sec encounters, because they are ships that are very suitable for low-sec storylines. Now, I haven't been doing storylines maybe in like 3-4 years now, almost since the scanning was released. I think a week or two before scanning was released. That was like the last time I was doing PvE. I was using a Cinnabal at the time. But if you like to run storylines, then the Navy frigates can be a very valid choice, since it's much more difficult to catch the smaller ships. As for the build, I talked about this on the very start of the video, but the reason why I actually prefer a speed tank, even for a PvE build, is the fact that you still can warp off, and it's much easier and much cheaper to just make a speed tank than to make a active tank. However, for missions in general, doesn't matter if a storyline or a classic encounter mission, you can pick any type of tank. At least for storylines, maybe you need to be a bit more prepared, I guess. The storyline missions can be dangerous. Some of them can be dangerous, but for high sec, DPS is the only thing that you need. But at the same time, you can use any build really. I personally prefer my ships to be tanky, since either tanky, or if you are going with a glass build, at least have a scout or have eyes or be aligned. Don't be a sitting duck at 100 kilometers. If you brawl, tank for sure. If you snipe, if your ship is a sniper, and this can be applied to any ship size, any ship class, be aligned, and or if not aligned, have eyes, have scouts. That's the way to do it. And that can also be applied to frigates, but with frigates it's just much easier, since you will get the scanning notification from almost all ships. Only a dedicated scanning ship may have a chance to find you, but even when they do scan you down, it will take a while and you can still easily warp off on time. I have a shield tank because I wasn't able to fit an armor repair, but regardless of the tank choice, I mean both will just run well. You won't have any problems with a shield or armor tank. I would say, since this is a Gallente ship, armor is definitely what I would prefer, but I will leave that up to the player, since it's not really limited to only armor or shield. Speed on the Tristan Navy is actually really slow. I think the Tristan Navy is the second fastest, and the fastest is the Rifter fleet. The Rifter is, I think the first one I got was the Rifter, because we all wanted to play the Rifter, and the Rifter Navy, the Rifter fleet is actually a very solid little ship that is decent, and I will check it out in one of the next videos. The DPS is okay. Again, your DPS is probably a lot higher than my DPS, since if you are already going after Tristan as your primary ship, at least primary frigate, you probably have offense drones. I do have one integrated drone that dropped from an Ortho skill, 9.6 billion Ortho skill. And I don't know what to do with that drone. I don't use integrated drones because offense are more suitable, I would say, and offense drones are much cheaper. I don't know what I'll do with that integrated drone. Forgot to check the price. I think it's like 3-4 billion. It was kind of crazy how the drone price went up. But you can expect the drones to be expensive, since they are at the moment the most powerful weapon in the game. Isn't that just lovely? But anyway, the main ship that the Tristan will be compared to is the Astro. And very soon I'll compare in this video I will use those comparison tools, and I'll be putting the Tristan next to the Astro. Although there's the Worm, but I kind of forgot that the Worm existed, and I think the Worm doesn't have the same DPS as the Astro, but the Worm does have a bonus on a roll bonus on drones. We'll have to again check to see what the exact stats of the Worm are, but I know that the Astro is currently one of the more popular drone modes, and the Tristan Navy is definitely compared to the Astro a lot. So let's take a quick look at the stats of these two ships. And there is a big role difference between the ships. The Astro is an exploration frigate with combat capabilities, while the Tristan is a combat frigate, which does mean that the Astro will have some other traits and attributes besides DPS. Now, the roll bonus obviously is exactly what I mentioned. The Astro is, after all, a expedition frigate, so you'll have a bonus on scanners and cargo hold, also a bonus on analysis, while the Tristan will have a bonus on the combat aspect, primarily warp drive bonus and also railguns. However, the Astro does get a little bonus in armor resistance, plus 4% or plus total 20% if your skill is level 5. The difference in skill requirements is also in the favor of the Astro. Experts versus advanced skills, it's much easier to skill into the advanced skills, but the overall drone bonus damage is equal on both ships. That's interesting. That's actually very interesting, but the Tristan does get some other extra stats. Does have slightly more drone hit point bonus, but overall these two ships are very similar. In the total DPS count, the Tristan will definitely have a bit more DPS, not because of the drones, but because of the blasters, since it does have a bonus on the blasters as well, while the Astro doesn't. But they're both drone boats, they're both drone frigates, and honestly, they both run really well. You can fight the Astro and Tristan at the same time, and you will probably enjoy both ships in the same way. But with that being said, I will wait for today. How was the Tristan Navy? Well, I wanted to check the ship out again because I was very curious to see how it will work after all the updates. So far, pretty happy with it. And with that being said, if you guys would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe. As always, I'll see you next time.